Everyday Juggler, your source for juggling highlights, interviews, tutorials, and reviews. And now your host, Sean Livingston.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Everyday Juggler Profiles. Today we get to hang out with Robin Chestnut, two-time Canadian juggling champion. Robin, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, how long you've been juggling, and what you're most excited about when it comes to juggling right now.
Well, I've been juggling for about 30 years. I live in a tiny little town called Toulon, Manitoba. It's north of Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is right in the center of Canada, straight above Grand Forks, North Dakota, which is about 4 hours from me. So it's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. And what am I most excited about right now? I'm most excited about my brand new YouTube channel, the Juggling Guild. And the Juggling Guild is designed to take a beginner juggler or a phys ed teacher or an after-school program coordinator juggling from the beginning with the perspective of avoiding practice mistakes and cultivating all the best habits to set you on the right track. So we can get a little bit more into that and sort of my philosophy there, if you like, later.
Yeah, I guess
but that's what I'm most excited.
As you know, I do my highlight reels every week, so I stumbled upon your channel this week or last week after we had already talked about doing an interview, and I thought that was pretty cool. It's a sort of like a virtual coach, you know?
That's right.
What are you hoping to accomplish with that channel?
Well, the channel is, a lot of these thoughts have been rattling around in my head for about 20 years on practice techniques, the mental game, how to prepare juggling for the stage, how to prepare for competition, how to learn most effectively, and how gym teachers could go, okay, hey, this is great. I don't have to be an expert. Robin can be the expert. I'll just run a video, and now I can run a class or a whole unit, and let juggling take off from there. I can't believe we as jugglers seem to be losing the battle to things like cup stacking. Nothing against cup stacking. Well, everything against cup stacking. Because juggling is infinitely cooler, but it doesn't seem to be quite as popular. And I know, cup stacking it's easy for everyone to just do it and have some success and then get faster and faster and faster. But I think the same is true for juggling. Mm-hmm. So, well, part of it is a service to people who just want to learn to juggle. Part of it is for, the gym teachers in my area who go, hey, this guy's, it's really helpful. It's super helpful. Let's have him out and maybe I'll get some more school shows, that type of thing. So it's a bit of a marketing tool for me as well, but I hope it's an easy place where you can get, quality instruction all in one place rather than, scouring through YouTube for the tutorial that you're looking for. Sometimes you're just not sure what to watch and you can waste hours going, well, that sort of does it. Mm-hmm. So the things that I'm not able to teach very well, like I would love to find somebody who does a perfect Mills mess tutorial, which I've seen, and reach out to them and say, hey, I'd love to have you on the channel. We'll give you full credit and a nod from me saying, hey, this is the cleanest way you can learn Mills mess, mm-hmm. or any other trick that you might be an expert in. I'd love to hear from people who think they really have a good tutorial. So,
mm-hmm. Yep. Mills mess. I just want to comment on that. Mills mess. Once you know how to do it, it's like, just as easy as a cascade. But like trying to learn how to do it right. based on like diagrams is like impossible.
Yeah. If people have that, do this throw first, then this throw, then this throw, easier. Yeah.
I also saw that you had some videos. You had a video from Dan Holzman on there and a couple other people too.
That's right. I guess initially I had started sort of a juggling coach program, but I didn't like the sound of it. I didn't like the approach because it sort of positioned me as the top expert, and I'm still a student of the game. And so I wanted to have other, great jugglers also, telling us their practice techniques, how long and how often they practice, what drills that they like to do when they're learning a trick, what drills they like to do when they're getting the trick ready for the show and the final stuff, and just delve into how other people practice. Because then the more you hear that, just like watching a video, the more you see somebody do 5 balls, the more you can believe that 5 balls is possible. Mm-hmm. But the more you hear somebody and about how they practice, the more you go, okay, I definitely need to get a practice space where I can practice, 5 or 6 days a week and spend an hour or 2 a day there, and that's how I'm going to get good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's rewind all the way back to the beginning. What was it that inspired you to juggle the first time?
Sure. The first time, I was out at the lake with my cousin, and he was going through the book, The Juggling for the Complete Klutz. I think initially his hockey coach had taught him to juggle a little bit, and then he had found that book, and so we were going through it, and he could already do it pretty good, and since he was older than me, I thought, well, geez, I want to be cool like my older cousins, so I'll practice all year, and next summer when I see him again, we'll both be able to juggle, and won't that be fun? And the next year came around, and he was into skateboarding.
So you were much better than him at that point?
I had gotten into balls, clubs, rings, and that type of thing, and yeah, he had gone on to other things, so... But by then, I was already committed, so I kept going.
Okay, so that was when you were younger, and then you said you transitioned to professional juggling in 1998 after you'd already started going to university. So why didn't you start sooner?
Let's see. I learned from my cousin when I was about 10 or 11 years old. By the time I was 12, there was a Winnipeg juggling club that I had joined. Thank you to Perry Rubenfeld, who used to be a director in the IJA as well, for running that club and keeping it going and giving me the motivation to go learn new stuff each week when we saw the guys. And then I started competing internationally as well. My first one was Denver, 1988. Again in Baltimore, and then Los Angeles, St. Louis, and by then I had aged out. So, I wasn't quite sure I wanted to be a professional juggler by the time I was 17. So I got an arts degree and then guaranteed that the only thing I'd be qualified for was being a professional juggler.
Yep. That's funny. So did you do your art degree all the way through before you decided to be a juggler professionally?
I spent 6 months on a cruise ship in between. That was back in 93, 94. And so I had a little taste of it. But still wasn't completely sure that that's what I wanted to do. So I got my degree and figured, okay, now's the time to take a shot. I guess what happened is I booked a gig for about $1,000 or so, and I thought if I could string together 50 of those, I've got a career.
Yeah.
So that was my thinking at the time.
Mm-hmm. And how'd that work out for you?
It worked out good. I quit my job and graduated in about 98. And opened the doors for business in 99, and for 11 years I did nothing but that, and it was fantastic. I suppose I owe a lot to my wife, who I had met soon thereafter, and we shared bills, and I thought, okay, well, that's fine. And then we got into a lifestyle balance thing, so. Mm-hmm. But yeah, 11 years of full-time professional, and it's still the majority of my income now.
So was it the juggling that your wife was attracted to?
She had actually hired me for a corporate gig where you do a kind of a team building exercise, and then I was to do a little bit after dinner. And so she reluctantly hired me. She did not want, the juggling metaphor was kind of lame and, keeping things up in the air. But I did a pretty good, little session that worked pretty well. And then I got a bunch of laughs during the show as well, and that's what I think sold her. So.
One of the things I saw on your site is that it seems like it's pretty important to you to get people to laugh without being crude. So I was just wondering, what are the challenges in that?
I guess I haven't really thought it was a challenge because I simply never considered swearing, cursing, or doing anything all that crude in the show. I guess I started out, doing family shows where there's a lot of kids in the audiences, and so you just never even consider swearing. And then I realized that kids don't have money, so I'm a juggler for adults, which I know is a tough sell, but I think people like what people do things well, and juggling, and if you can make them laugh and do it in a clean way, then you can go for those corporate dollars. If you're cursing and the company you're working for, their employees or their maybe they're entertaining clients, and if you insult them in any way, that just reflects bad on the company, and you're just not going to get a lot of work. So I just avoid it completely, and that makes me pretty competitive with the stand-up comics in my area and with any of the magicians in my area. So, a company can only have a magician or a comic for so long, and then they want to go for something a little bit different and unique, and that's the niche I fulfill.
Awesome. So what do you think has kept you going all these years?
I think I really like juggling. I really still enjoy learning new moves. I'm into my 40s now, and I still get a kick out of playing combat or learning a new multiplex or site swap or something, and adding to the show. Plus, I like performing. There's no better feeling than making people laugh for an hour, getting a standing ovation, to getting your check and going home. It's a pretty great thing. So.
You said combat and learning site swaps and multiplex, and so I was thinking you must be involved in communities of other jugglers that are exploring these things too. What kind of communities have you been a part of along the way?
Well, like I say, it was really important for me to be the Winnipeg Juggling Club was the initial incarnation of juggling in Winnipeg, and from that I learned about the IJA, and now as the Juggling Club folded, a circus club has sprung up out of nowhere in Winnipeg, and so I've been involved with that and started coaching some of the people who attend there, and I think they're getting a lot of value out of it as well. So.
Great. Now, one of the things that you mentioned was kind of a work life or a juggle life balance. And one question I have for everybody is how they make time to make sure that they can keep up their skill, that they have time to practice.
Sure.
So just kind of throwing that all together, you got your performance and you've got your wife and you've got your practice. And I think you have a day job sometimes too. So how do you manage all that?
You stay really, really busy, I suppose. When I did nothing but the juggling, I had plenty of time to spend a couple of hours a day practicing, but I don't practice quite that often anymore. But if I can get an hour in here and there after work, then I like to do that. It keeps me in shape. And then having the day job just allows me to keep my prices up, and I don't have to take every little birthday party or anything that comes along. In fact, I don't do any birthday parties, and really never have. But allows me to I can take weekends off during the summer. which I value, and I can be part of my community, and I can have other interests. Whereas I think if I was just a full-time juggler, I know I'd have to be on a cruise ship or touring or joining a circus or something like that, where I'm away a long time, and that just wouldn't work for married life. So.
Yep. Before we started the interview, you mentioned that you you do some work at a bee farm, and first of all, I just think that's awesome. So I want to hear a little bit about it, and also I'm always interested to learn how professions affect the way people think about juggling, and I feel like there might be some ways that bee colonies act or live that maybe would influence the way you juggle a little bit. But tell us a little bit about that, about your working on a bee farm.
Sure. Well, the bee farm isn't actually my. That's just another hobby. That's not my my side job. Although it would be fun to be a professional beekeeper or work with one. About 2012, we live out pretty much in the middle of nowhere. And so we have 10 acres, and so I started with 4 hives, and we're up to I wintered 18 hives this past year.
Wow!
And we collect some honey, and we make some lip balm, and sell all the honey, and I made some mead recently, which I am enjoying right now. Mm. And then, as far as the day job and the work-life balance, I sell ads in a small newspaper in my surrounding area, which you can do by phone and internet. And so from time to time, if I do need to take a day here and there, I can go do things. A little nod to there it is, Express Weekly News. So I think at first, to sort of get back to your question, how does your work life interact with the juggling life? At first, I really saw myself as a juggler. That's who I was. But I started to realize, no, juggling and performing is more of a role that I play, and who I am is not quite that. It's pretty limiting to just say, oh, I'm a juggler. It's a part of my life, but it's not everything. And I think that allows you to go, okay, well, now I can do a lot more things, and I can be a lot more things as well. So,
mm-hmm. Yeah. So you are a professional entertainer, doing comedy primarily, but then
that's right.
When you started juggling, you were much more interested in the technical side of juggling. And would you say that kind of gives you an edge in the juggling entertainment market?
That's what I thought my edge was. And in a way it is. I think in the market immediately surrounding me, people say, no, it's a pretty amazing show. He does all this stuff. It's very entertaining in that respect. And I think the more ways that you can appeal to an audience, the better. I think at other times, if I'm looking to be part of a street performing festival, a lot of people do a little bit of rudimentary juggling or some juggling at the festival, and you don't want to be outshone. So other guys who are maybe funnier don't necessarily recommend you because they want to look good too. So it's a bit of a balance there, and I'm really not. I guess I'm better than your average 3-club juggler, but I'm not, WJF caliber either. So good middle of the road. I can keep a 5-club cascade going.
All right.
I'll run 7 balls. So that's where I'm at. But yeah, I think it's a bit of an edge. I mean, that's what I liked to see when I was a kid. So that's what I went for.
Mm-hmm. So who would you say has kind of supported you the most throughout your juggling journey?
Who has supported me the most? The immediate community was very supportive. I got to see a lot of acts through the Winnipeg International Children's Festival and work with them. Dave Aiken has been a good friend and mentor for many years. So those both there's sort of a bit of a crossover with street performing community and the IJA and our local club, which I think has really been supportive. If I know when I was young, the big inspiration was the 1986 IJA tape. I don't know if you remember that or ever took a peek at that, but I think Anthony Gatto was the winner, and Scott Burton, and a whole slew of really great jugglers on that tape. And I just wore that video out. It was a VHS tape at the time. And now guys have YouTube, so it's pretty awesome to see all the new stuff that gets shared.
Mm-hmm. How would you say that juggling has kind of impacted your life positively?
Oh, goodness. Well, in a couple of ways, it's been great to be a professional entertainer and have all the experiences that affords you. You get to go to towns, countries that you just would never otherwise get to go see. So the experiences, the confidence that comes from learning how to be a performer that I didn't inherently have. I think I had to work at that. Has been a huge help in, I guess I like to say, look, I can juggle 7 balls. So this is going to be a piece of cake. If I need to build a shed, I'm pretty sure I can build a shed. Mm-hmm. I need to put a deck on my house. Well, fine, I'll figure out how to build a deck. Mm-hmm. And I know the two have nothing to do with each other. And if you can do one doesn't necessarily mean that you can do the other. But by the same token, it's a pretty supportive belief to say, look, I can stand up in front of a crowd and present this. I'm pretty sure that I can go make a sales call or make a phone call or figure out whatever I need to figure out. And so I know just because you're good at one thing doesn't mean you're going to be good at, everything else. But it's still a really supportive belief to have, to say, okay, I'm pretty sure I can figure this out because I figured out all these juggling tricks. Mm-hmm. They have nothing to do with each other. I get it. But it's still a supportive thought.
Mm-hmm. I think it's more an understanding of knowing that you're capable of something. That when you start juggling, you don't think you're capable of juggling 7 balls, and then once you are capable of that, you're like, well, if I could do that, then I ought to be able to do this too. It seems like there's a formula for anything. You just have to learn that formula.
Right. That's exactly it. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so you would say that through juggling, that's kind of helped you understand that better and pursue things that you might not have otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. There was. I didn't do super well in competitions. I think I have the most 4th place finishes of anyone. So I wanted to figure out why I didn't do so well in 1991. And so I took sports psychology as a result, and that was part of my Bachelor of Arts degree. And then I studied a whole ton of psychology outside of that, so I have a pretty good idea of how one adopts certain beliefs, determines what their values are, runs different, programs and strategies in their head to make decisions, to determine what you focus on. And so that's become, I wouldn't have had the motivation to learn that if I didn't get into juggling and then have some less than good experiences from it. Mm-hmm. So that's how it, something that not everybody's going to get out of juggling, but that's what I wanted to figure out. So
mm-hmm. Great. What are some ways you've seen juggling positively impact other people's lives?
Oh goodness, there was a fella who he's no longer juggling per se, but he spent 5 or 6 years as part of a team act, and he was a heavier set guy, and I remember him learning to juggle, and he got pretty good to the point where he could pass clubs and pass 7 clubs, that type of thing, and he could probably juggle 5 balls, and so he was sort of good enough to pull off a show. But before that, if he was telling a joke, he would clam up if there's more than 3 people watching. And to see an adult like this, just turn around and go, oh, now I got a whole crowd of people watching me, and it doesn't faze me. So just the confidence that, like we said, comes from being able to do something well, allows you, it just opens the door for all sorts of opportunities that you would filter out and not even consider if you didn't have some time on stage.
Yep. Great. All right, here's some quick-fire questions for you. What's your favorite trick or pattern to do?
Favorite trick or pattern to do? I have some pretty good 3 club back crosses. They just feel as natural as anything. So that's one. I really like my mini basketball routine, the head rolls and so forth. So those are probably some of my favorites. Yeah.
All right, great. For anybody listening, you should go look up his mini basketball routine. It's fun to watch. And what about to watch? What do you like to see?
What do I like to? What do I like to watch? Well, I love to see a good comedy juggler, somebody who really takes some skill and combines it with the comedy and make that work. Because they are 2 different skills. That's what I really like to see. As far as technical stuff going, I love seeing the sight swap, and I have kind of a story about the sight swap as well. If I can see somebody run 9-7-5-3-1, with 5 balls and do like 5 or 6 in a row, I think, oh, that's pretty awesome. Way to go. Yeah. The sight swap, interestingly enough, there was a dude in Winnipeg years back in the late 80s who had, and this is pre-internet time, guys. So he had developed sight swap, and he was doing like, I think they call it popcorn now with 5 balls. And he did the reverse of that one, and he had figured out sight swap. He didn't call it that, but he had figured it out. And I remember seeing some of the patterns and not having any idea what he was doing. And then I got to different conventions and realized that other people were doing it too. And I know he didn't meet any of them. So just like Alexander Graham Bell and somebody else were racing to the patent office for the telephone, sight swap was being thought up around the world back in the 80s. And I always thought that was kind of neat.
That's awesome. What's your favorite festival that you've been to?
I love going down to the Mondo Festival in Minneapolis. Yeah, that's I'd have to say that's one of my favorites. Some of the IJA ones were a lot of fun, obviously, as well, for various different reasons. The Baltimore one was fantastic too. Anthony Gatto was doing his 5 club record there, and that was just a great festival as well. The 91 festival was pretty great. The 2003 festival was awesome as well. And that was, where was that? 03 was in Reno, of course. Yeah. Met Team Rootberry and Ivan Pacell and all those guys. And what a great hang that was. Yeah.
Cool. Rootberry's going to be at the RIT Juggle in a couple weeks.
Fantastic.
And I'm going to be there, so I'm pretty stoked about that. What was it about the Mondo Festival that sticks out, that makes it more memorable?
Part of it is Minneapolis is within striking distance of Winnipeg. It's about an 8-hour drive. So from the time I was about 14 or 15, I would drive down there and get billeted, and it's the people. They're just great, great people. They're giving and open, and they just run a really fun festival, and always have a great special guest. And I was just down there again this year, and there's a huge unicycle component to the festival, which I really enjoy as well. So, yeah, that's what I like about it.
All right. What's your favorite prop to juggle?
Prop. Probably like 3 clubs. There's just so much you can do with 3 clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Probably my favorite prop.
And what about brand of clubs?
I've juggled everything from Todd Smith Americans to Renegades. I went through a phase of Renegades, which are great if you're going to juggle outdoors. And now I'm sold on the PX3s.
Mm. All right. What juggler have you looked up to, or who are some jugglers you've looked up to throughout the years?
I would say Albert Lucas was a good one. Seeing him, I think it's his 84 tape, was the flawless run. I mean, he starts with 7 rings, 28 throws, pull down, and that's the start of the show. It's not, I would save that for the end, right? But that's his start. And 7 balls, and he did the pool pockets. He did 4 tennis rackets, then the 3 clubs. Amazing. So I really enjoyed him. I love seeing more current guys who I just love watching. Doug Sayers is amazing. Way to go, David Furman, for all of the stuff he does. Jack Denger, never know how to pronounce it. I love seeing the Raspini brothers, Dan Holzman, I've looked up to forever. So, yeah.
All right. And what are some practice tips you have for us novices?
There's a bunch. If you're learning a new trick, see if you can hit it 3 times in one practice session. If you can't hit it at all, then break the trick down into its component parts and hit those. I don't recommend practicing until and failing because you're getting into the habit of failing whether you like it or not. And you shouldn't be getting used to dropping. You should be getting used to catching. So that said, practice in sets. If you can do something 10 out of 10 times, then do a slightly harder version of it. 10 out of 10 times. Practice for endurance as well. So for the tricks that lend itself to that, like if you're learning 2 in one hand or even 3 in one hand, do a run of 100 and just start where you left off. Or if you're learning back crosses and you can get 10 back crosses in a row, well, start doing 100 back crosses and start where you left off. If you drop at 17, start 17, 18, 19, keep going until you eventually reach your goal of 100. And then at least you've done 100 throws that practice. But practicing in sets, do 10 sets of 10 throws, means you're practicing getting into and out of the pattern, which is really important. A lot of people practice until they fail. I just want to get my record. I just want to get my record. And they practice until they fail. Another big tip, if you have a coach that understands form, that's super important. If your hands are way out in front of you, and you're stiff-legged and you're bent over, your back's at funny angles, then you're not going to juggle that well. But if your hands are in close to you, they're going to move faster. If you have slightly bent legs, then you're going to be a little bit more athletic and in balance. So these types of form type things, with back crosses as well, there's other tips and techniques, but or for any trick there is really. But part of it has to do with having your hands close enough to your body. I know you get scared of the clubs, you don't want to hit your face, so you put your arms way out in front. But that slows your arms down so much, then you can't make any corrections that way because your hands are slow and they're too far away from you. So But practice for endurance. It's something that I didn't do enough of as a kid. If you're going to perform something, every trick should be just as easy as the cascade, right? You don't want to drop the cascade, and you don't want to drop whatever other trick. So make it that easy, and so practice way more repetitions than you think you might need. If you can do 3 up, 360 10 times in a row, great. Do 100 of them. Try that for a day, and just pound them out. If you look at something like Jack Denger, for example, he did a 3 up, I think it was a 3-ball 3 up competition. Well, he banged them off one after the other with no cascade throws, and he could do as many as he wanted in a row. That's how good you need to be at these things, and that's what's really going to propel you to, you look at some of these jugglers and go, how did they get that good? Well, I'm telling you, that's how they got that good. More repetitions than you ever thought you needed. Oh, I can hit it 3 in a row. Who cares? Can you hit it on stage? Go for 100. Yep.
That's great advice. When I'm working on something new, I always think about how one day this is going to be as easy as a cascade. And it's, when I'm doing it, that seems unrealistic, but that's what I hope to do. So
absolutely. The other thing, and I've heard other jugglers say this, even David Furman, if you can look at 7 balls the same way you look at 5 balls, it's going to be easier for you eventually. And what he means by that is you categorize the mental picture of what 5 balls is or 3 balls is, depending on your level of skill. You store it in a different field of vision. Let's see if I can move my hands around here. Different field of vision, like if something's far away from you, it's not that important. But if it's big and in your face, it's really important, right? And so if you can shrink it down and go, oh, that's not so. That doesn't cause me any anxiety at all. 7 balls is easy. Then you'll eventually make 7 balls easy. But you can learn to juggle 7 balls and always think it's hard. And then you get uptight every time you do it. So pairing the feeling with the picture that you want to have of it being really easy is something that you need to practice. But if you're practicing the hard 7 balls, it's always going to be hard no matter how good you get at it in the gym. Unless you can, really break through that barrier where, okay, now I can do it as easy as, but then now you're all of a sudden storing it in the same field of vision as 5 balls. It's just that easy.
That's great.
So,
great advice.
Playing with those visualizations in your head and going, oh, I'm doing this. I'm fighting against myself because I think a trick is hard. Tricks are neutral. You just haven't learned them yet.
All right, so that was our practice tips. So good. What about tips for just being a professional juggler? What's some advice you have for an aspiring professional juggler?
Take responsibility for everything that happens in your show. And that means showing up before people arrive and doing a proper sound check, having backups for your sound, making sure that you are aware of how the lights are going to be. Most venues, you don't often get to choose your lighting, but you want to be able to adapt to it. And if the lights are bright, you need to know beforehand so that you can deal with that. But I would say basically take responsibility for everything that's going to happen in your show. And the other advice is figure out your personality, because there's nothing too original about juggling. But what is original is your personality. And if you can bring that out and find your voice, as you might hear some comics saying, and I think I've found my voice on stage. I still struggle with being able to write from it and going, that's where the humor comes from. But when I get on stage, it does come out, with any improv type lines or anything like that. That said, if you know exactly how your show goes, that's way better. Mm-hmm. So it's good to be able to listen and read the audience, and that hooks them in because they know you're listening. But even better advice is know exactly what you're going to say and plan it out so you know where the laughs are, and that's what is going to make you the true pro.
Mm-hmm. Great. So that's we're near the end here. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think would be valuable for us to talk about a little bit?
Well, one thing is, if you're starting out and you're thinking about being a professional juggler, say yes to every show. And if you can put yourself in a situation where you can perform many, many times all week long, then do that, because that's how you're going to get good. You need constant feedback. Just like a drop is just feedback, so is every show that you do is just feedback as to how it's going to go. So if street performing is it for you, then go street perform. And that was a huge training ground for me, and I didn't necessarily think it was a stepping stone at the time, but I have gotten away from it for now for various reasons. But if that's the way that allows you to get in front of an audience and see what works and what doesn't, and they give you lines as well, so you can't collect those lines if you're not performing. Perform, and enjoy it as well. And the way to enjoy it is to focus on what you want to happen. You want to have great laughs. You want to catch everything. You focus on that. Mm-hmm. So many people focus on what they don't want, drops, the audience not liking them, and that's what makes you nervous. And so therefore the audience doesn't like watching anyone who's nervous, and nervousness leads to drops. So the whole key to juggling, to life in general, is to focus on what you want, not on what you don't want.
Mm-hmm. That's great. You reminded me of something that I forgot to ask you that I wanted to hear, which is, out of all your time performing as a juggler, what's your most memorable performance or your best kind of story that's happened, while you're performing?
I think one of the most memorable venues, and this was great. I got an opportunity to juggle in Saudi Arabia, and the culture shock was terrific. It was the one time where they had hired me. Don't worry, I'll pick you up at the airport. I'll get you to your venue. I'll get you to your hotel. Don't worry. Just, here's the plane ticket. Get on the plane. I said, okay, fine. I was joining the crew a day late. So there's about 30, Canadian performers going over to perform there. And I was coming in the day after. So I had to go across the world, land in Saudi Arabia, but I was quite certain my friend would pick me up and I'd have like the little sign at the airport with my name on it. And I was really looking forward to that. And no one was there. They didn't pick me up. They were busy at the time, I suppose. So I was in the airport. I found an email terminal. I found a bank machine, got some reels out, had a bite to eat, and then some people, started noticing that I wasn't going anywhere. And so they came over, and I thought I was going to get mugged or something. But the dude says, hey, looks like somebody, didn't pick you up. I said, yeah, I'm a little lost. He said, okay, take a cab down to this hotel and don't let them charge you any more than 10 reals. They're going to try to charge you more, and if you let them drive you all over the city, they will, and they'll try to charge you for it. Don't just go straight to this hotel, check in, and just hang out there until your guys find you. I said, oh, it's good advice. And so I got a cab, went down. The guy did try to overcharge me. I said, no, it's only 10 reals, which turned to like $2 Canadian or something, which I suppose that I shouldn't have argued about, but I was told, don't let them rip you off. So some policemen came by and said, okay, it's $10. Yeah. And And then I checked the TV when I got my hotel room, and there's all the guys performing on TV. And my phone rings at about 2 a.m. Oh, Robin, I forgot. So I mean, take the experiences. Don't panic. You're going to be fine, I suppose.
So you didn't miss your performance?
I guess I missed the first day, which they knew I was going to miss, and then I caught up for the second day, and everything was fine. Yeah, it was a 2-week run or something.
Okay.
So, but say yes to all the experiences you can, because they're pretty memorable and it's a lot of fun in the end. So.
All right. So if people want to check out your stuff, things you've done in the past, or what you're working on currently, where can they find you?
For now, head to the YouTube channel, Juggling Guild. Check it out. Like it and share it if you like, for what you think is useful. And I would love to hear feedback as to what you might want to see. Whether or not I can provide it, I'll see if I can track down somebody who can give you a good tip or advice or a tutorial that you might like to see. The website is not up and running yet for that, but it is March 28th, 2016, and hopefully it will be soon. And like that, otherwise, robinchestnut.com. Email on me at robin@robnut.com, and like that, I'll see you on Facebook.
All right. And final word goes to you. What are some words of inspiration to the juggling community at large?
To the juggling community, practice daily.
Practice daily.
And show us your stuff. Yeah, don't play it small. Play big. Go for it.
All right. If you're gonna do it, don't do it little.
Doesn't serve anyone.
All right. Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Sean.
It was an awesome time. And everybody else, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to check out other interviews like this and a highlight reel every single week at my channel. Until next time, keep on juggling.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, be sure to support the channel. Leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe.